Love lives here.
So, who here is still holding a grudge? Who here has some resentment? Who here is feeling any shame or blame? Blaming self, blaming others. Yeah, all right. So just about everybody's hand went up, and I think everybody's hand really wanted to go up, but I think there might have been a little hesitation. Right? Yeah, exactly, right? And so I have a question for you in addition to those questions. How does it feel? How are you feeling when you're holding the grudge? How are you feeling when you're holding on to the resentment? How are you feeling when you're holding on to the blame or the shame? How are you feeling? Bleh. Happy. Huh? Oh, heavy. I was going to say happy. Okay. I was like, happy? Ooh, okay, that's a different one. I wasn't expecting that, but all right. Heavy, blah, right? Feels icky in your tummy, feels icky in your innards, makes you feel heavy, makes you feel sad. Anything else? Easily frustrated, betrayed. Yeah. It's just kind of yuck, right? It's just kind of I love that, bleh, right? That's the best way of describing it, describing that feeling. Yes. And why is that? I'm making you work today. Why is that? Out of alignment, right? We're out of alignment because, as I said in my email earlier this week, that when we are out of alignment with the law, one of the easiest ways that we get out of alignment with the law of cause and effect, right? Well, one of the easiest ways that we get out of alignment with the law is through our lack of forgiveness. Because when we're not forgiving ourselves or we're not forgiving somebody else, what we're doing is we're automatically creating a sense of separation. And when we're creating a sense of separation, we are already creating the sense of odds, the sense of otherness. Whether we're othering ourselves or othering somebody else, we're creating the sense of separation. And anytime we're creating that sense of separation in our consciousness, then it's outpicturing in our life as well as that and that otherness and that tension and that holding on, isn't it? So a few weeks ago, I happened to be out and about, and I ran into somebody I fired several years ago. I haven't thought about this individual in years, but this individual clearly has been thinking about me. Because this individual was like, all of a sudden, like, the face changed, and I said, well, hey, good morning, it's great to see you. And they're like, hi. I was like, wow, you're clearly holding a grudge, right? You're clearly not taking responsibility for your part in the relationship and your part in what happened. Wow, I bless you because wow, you carrying that all these years? Whew, that's heavy. I love you. Blessings. My God. Right? Whereas, like I said, I haven't thought about her for years. Years. Until all of a sudden there she was in my face. I'm like, oh, all right. Right? So is her holding that grudge or her being unforgiving, and her holding on to that resentment, doing anything to me? Nope. Right? It's doing everything to who? Her, right? It's doing everything to her. How miserable, right, to be going through this at the state of consciousness where perhaps where she's still feeling the victim and she was wronged, right? Not accepting her responsibility. Notice how that can inhibit growth, inhibit joy, inhibit freedom, right? Because there's a holding on to what was, a holding on to this perceived wrongdoing, this perceived badness, right? Or this perceived evil, even, if you will. Because the look she gave me was not like one of love, right? It's like, all of a sudden, horns are coming out the top of my head. And yeah, that's what, what it was, right? But I got to tell you, people, forgiveness and non-forgiveness, especially the non-forgiveness or the lack of forgiveness or the punishment, is not divine. There is nobody sitting in the sky keeping track who's naughty and nice and punishing you because you made a mistake and continuously punishing you and is angry, mad, pissed off, whatever, and is just like, no, Bill. I am going to put my thumb down on you for the rest of eternity. It's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. Why isn't it the way it works? Because if spirit, if God, if love could be the opposite of that, right, then there would be two. And if there would be two, if there were to be duality, right, then the hatred would be able to destroy the love, in which case we would not even be sitting here. We have to be the incarnation, impartation, manifestation of love. And what is all there is? Love is all there is. It is our misuse of spiritual principle. It is our misuse of the law that gets us into trouble. It's our ignorance of it even that gets us into trouble. We've been talking about this, right? Our ignorance of the law or our misuse of the law does not free us from the consequences of our actions, our thoughts, our beliefs, or our behaviors, right? But when we stop making the mistake, because what is sin? Sin is nothing but a word for mistake, right? When we stop making the mistake, what happens? The punishment stops. The effect of the mistake stops, does it not? If you stop hitting yourself over the head with a hammer, right? Then the head, eventually the headache goes away because you're no longer continuing to pound yourself over the head with a hammer, right? Or beating your head against the wall, right? The headache eventually goes away. Because you're now interrupting, you're stopping the behavior, you're stopping the mistake, you're stopping the stinking thinking. And when we stop all of that business, then we are free and we begin to then replace it with something that is more in alignment, as Dinah said, it's more in alignment with what it is that we want, what it is that we desire, our relationship with spirit. Then once we're more into alignment with that, and then we start thinking and taking actions and behaviors based on that, we experience a new action, a new activity. We experience a new manifestation, demonstration, do we not? That's more in alignment. That is focused in love, that is centered in joy, that is centered in oneness. So forgiveness is the key here. Forgiveness of ourselves, forgiveness of others. If we do not forgive ourselves, if we continue to hold resentment and we withhold forgiveness, we continue to live in separation. We continue to otherize. So forgiveness here, my beloveds, is key. It's not about forgetting what happened. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting, right? That lady can remember what happened, that I fired her, but she does not have to keep giving it power. She does not have to keep giving away her power. Just like I remembered somebody the other day that was like, wow, I haven't, every time I think of that person, I'm like, my stomach gets tied in knots. They haven't thought of me in years. They could care less. They probably don't even remember my name. Right? But every time I think of them, I'm like, So my withholding, my not forgiving is causing me anxiousness. It's causing me physical ick in my body, tension in my body. It's causing me upset. It's causing my heart to race. It's causing my breath to get shallow. It's causing me to remember a wrong from 20 years ago. And I get just as mad now. God, how exhausting is that, right? And why am I still giving that energy when I am living a pretty blessed life with my husband and everything that's going on with me right now? Why do I give that person, that situation, that thing way back there so much energy? Because I haven't healed it. I haven't let it go. I haven't forgiven. And again, it's not about forgetting. It's not about condoning the behavior. The behavior that this person did was absolutely out of alignment, right? It was bad behavior by anyone's standards. It was behavior that was unacceptable. And I get to separate out the behavior from the person. I have to separate out the behavior from the person. It doesn't mean I'm going to go back to this person and say, hey, you want to be best buds? Because that's not the case. What they did, they did. I'm not going to hold it against them. But that also does not mean we have to be best buds now either. Because I recognize that, and I'm able to discern that that relationship was not a good relationship. The interactions we had were unhealthy. They don't serve me. So I'm not going to go back to being in a regular relationship with that individual. There's no need for me to reach out. There's no need for me to say, hey, how you doing? None of that, right? I choose to not have a relationship with that individual, but I also choose not to allow that individual to take up rent, live free rent in my head or in my heart. Because if we do that, they're not suffering. He's not suffering. He doesn't care. He doesn't know my name. Right? I remember. I care. But also, where have I grown as a result of it? How have I evolved? How have I changed and matured and been able to recognize the same patterns or similarities in myself that I can then correct? So that I'm not perpetuating, so that I'm not doing the same thing I'm accusing this person of. So that I'm not engaged with and entertaining those same behaviors, ideas, or thoughts. That's where I get to do my work. That's where you get to do your work. You see, beloveds, it's about self-acceptance first. First, we have to accept ourselves. Once we accept our role in whatever it is, then we can forgive ourselves. We can participate in the self-forgiveness. And once we participate in the self-forgiveness, we set ourselves free from that, then we begin to trust ourselves even deeper. Then it becomes about self-trust. Because I self-accept, first I go to acceptance. Okay, this happened. I accept that. Facts, just the facts, ma'am. I accept it. I forgive myself. I trust myself. That's the next layer. And when I trust myself, then I bring myself into that self-care and that self-love. And as the living prophet RuPaul says, you already know, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? Can I get an amen up in here? There we go. So, she does it much more dramatically, but, right? So then it comes down to that self-love piece. And so when we are in that place of self-love, when we are knowing ourselves, when we are loving ourselves, when we are in that place of self-love, then when things occur in our lives, and we encounter things in our lives, we encounter individuals in our lives, standing in that self-love, standing in that self-confidence, we can meet it and go, this is not okay. Or, this is okay, right? But we can go, this is not okay. I'm going to discern. I'm going to hold a boundary. And yes, I appreciate that. I'm going to learn from you, but I'm not going to let you live rent-free in my head. I'm not going to let you live rent-free in my heart. And so I'm forgiving. In that moment, I'm able to forgive, and then I'm able to be free. So when we get to the place of self-love, we also reach that place of freedom where we can forgive in the moment, not condone, but forgive. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Right? Forgive, and ye shall be forgiven. Give, and it shall be given unto you. All of these are talking about forgiveness. Go ahead and come on in, Corey. Forgive 70 times 7, meaning that it's eternal. Forgiveness is ongoing. It's an ongoing process that never ends. But this forgiving is actually a giving of love. A giving of love to ourselves, giving love to one another. This is where the giving and the forgiving comes in. So, self-acceptance, self-forgiveness, self-trust, self-love. That's where it starts. Okay? So, keep that in mind now as we go into our tables, and there are the questions on the tables for you. And Jossie, if you could put the questions on the screens here and the questions there at home. We're going to go into tables, and you have these questions to discuss. Is there anything too horrific to forgive? How do you move from unforgiveness, a hardened heart, to forgiveness, a compassionate heart? And what is your experience with forgiveness? What is your personal experience with forgiveness? So you have about 20 minutes here to talk amongst yourselves around these 3 questions. So the topic is forgiveness and freedom at the table this morning. So Earl just said something really important, and this is going to be part of your homework, or part of your practice for this week. He talked about releasing. So the invitation for you this week, let's just back it up that way. The invitation for you this week is to allow somebody to come to mind against whom you're still holding something, right? And it doesn't have to be big. In fact, it might be easier if you start with something small, just like a small grievance. Oh, she stepped on my toe. I haven't let that go yet. Whatever, right? So you start with something where you are holding some kind of resentment, some kind of grudge, some kind of where you're withholding forgiveness. And then say, I choose freedom. Let me hear you say that. I choose freedom. Okay? I forgive you. And I release you. So, I choose freedom. I forgive you. And I release you. I choose freedom. I forgive you. I release you. All right? That is the homework for this week. And, as you work through different individuals, and that individual could very well be who? Self. Exactly, yourself, right? I forgive my younger self for making the choices that he did, right? I release. I choose freedom. I forgive you, right? And I release you. I release the hold that my younger self might have on me, right? So you can do it for yourself, do it for others. Yes? All right. So Big breath in and out. How you feeling? Good, right? A little freer? A little squiggly wiggly freer? I invite our practitioners to stand and surround the sanctuary. And our core council as well. Sasha, our newest and youngest practitioner. She's a natural. All right, here we go. So, recognizing that spirit is all that there is nothing but this one life, this one power, this one presence, this one love, this one infinite and eternal. I recognize that it is ever giving of itself, to itself, through itself, as itself. Is the ever givingness of spirit, this ever givingness of spirit is what Ernest Holmes called love. And this is what we anchor in right here in this moment, the spirit of love. And where there is love, especially self-love, then there is also self-forgiveness. There is the opportunity then to recognize the truth in one another, to recognize the truth in each other and in all situations and in all life, in all creation and all activity and action, recognizing that it is love that is actually coming forth, pouring forth. It is love behind it, regardless of the action itself. We can separate the action from the actors. And we rest in the knowing that all is truly well, and we give ourselves the gift of freedom and allow freedom to reign within us, allow freedom to reign, not just ring, but reign through our lives. Oh, and how good it is to know this, to be free, how much lighter we are, how much more joyous and joy-filled and joyful we are. And it's from this fullness and filled upness that we give from the overflow of our love, of our joy, of our peace, of our harmony, and it returns to us in kind. So I simply give thanks for all that is, all that has been, releasing those things that no longer serve us, releasing the woulds, coulds, shoulds, resentments, judgments, releasing it all back into the nothingness from which it came, for truly there is only one here, and it is good, it is God. I let it be, and together we affirm, and so it is. And so I invite everyone to please stand and let's say our affirmation together. Our affirmation is, I forgive myself as I forgive others. Are you ready? Here we go. I forgive myself as I forgive others. Wonderful. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It is this thing called love. Love is in my mind. Love is in my body. Love is in everything I do. I am it. I share it. I receive it. And I move love forward because love lives here. And together we rise. And so it is.